What's going on, everyone? It's Young Man. Today is November 24th, 2025. I appreciate you clicking on the video. Today we're going to be talking about Bitcoin, Metaplanet, and strategy, the three things that we've been talking about and the three things that we will continue talking about. And today we're mostly going to be talking about Bitcoin. We know that Metaplanet and strategy are Bitcoin treasury companies, so their performance is largely dependent on the performance of Bitcoin. So today I want to talk about time and Bitcoin and Fiat as they relate to time. I believe that time is something that is unique in the sense that it's very long and it's very short. Our perception of it will tell us that it's very long and we have infinite time, and time will continue to go on for forever. And our perception of it also will tell us that it's very short, it never stops moving, it is fleeting, and you don't know how much you have left. So you can think about time, and two things can be true at once. There aren't many things like this, but it applies to all the other things in our lives, because we're going through our day-to-day, and we're considering things and how they relate to time. And one of our eyes is observing the world, and it believes that time is short. We don't have much left. We don't know how much we have left. Any day could be our last. We don't know how much time we have. The other eye is looking at the world, and it's telling us we have all the time in the world. We have infinite time, because we have no proof that time won't go on for forever. So you could believe that time will continue to go on, and you have plenty of it. It's very interesting because both of these things are true. All of Einstein's work, one of the most famous scientists, Albert Einstein, he was looking into the relativity of time. And basically what he found was that both can be true. Time, it stretches and expands and contracts, and it's not this fixed linear concept like many of the systems in this world lead us to believe it is. But today, I just want to talk about Bitcoin versus Fiat and how they relate to this idea of time being true, that it's short, and true that it's long. So I think Bitcoin represents the side of the coin that tells us time is infinite, time will go on, and you can count on the fact that you'll have time tomorrow. Fiat, the paper notes that we use that aren't backed by anything, that represents the side or the concept of time that tells us you don't know how much you have left. Any day could be your last. You should get it and you should spend it, because you don't know how much value that dollar will have tomorrow. I think we can really see the contrast between Bitcoin and Fiat, and it kind of echoes the same concept of time being long and being short. And I think throughout our day-to-day, we make decisions, and we kind of align with one side or the other. I could decide to go to the gym, and I would be aligning with the long-term idea of time, that I should go to the gym because I need to set myself up for my future, because I believe I'm going to have a future. And I should put aside my short-term comfort for my long-term longevity. Or I could make the decision, I should stay at home, I should watch movies and eat candy. That would be kind of aligning with the idea that I don't know how much time I have left. I should enjoy this time that I know I have right now. And we always are given choices that kind of lead us to have to make a decision which side of the concept of time we're going to identify with. And I believe that usually there is a right and a wrong. I think that normally if you decide on the long-term strategy, if you think of time as long and that you will be here tomorrow and that you should set yourself up for your future, I think that side is typically the right answer. Of course, there's some times where it's, yes, you don't know how much time you have, you should enjoy yourself. Of course, sometimes that's true. But zoomed out in the long term, you want to align with the long-term strategy. The short-term strategy is kind of hollow. It'll often lead you down a path that will not benefit you. If I decide every single day to stay at home, watch movies, and eat candy, I'm going to be manifesting the idea that I have about time, that it's short. I'm going to bring that into reality, and I might not last very long because I'm not doing anything to prepare for the future. So I think Bitcoin represents the side of long-term strategy, and Fiat represents the side of, I don't know how much time I have. I'm just going to get it and spend it. I want to give a couple examples of this contrast. So if I go to the gym 4 times a week versus going to the gym 2 times a week, it'll be easier in the short term to do 2 times a week. And it really doesn't seem that much different. It's just 2 days a week. That's the difference. It's only 2 days a week. But if we zoom out on the long chart of reality, if we look at this comparison of 2 versus 4 times going to the gym, on a 10-year frame, that's the difference between going to the gym 2,000 times for a week in 10 years, 2,000 times going to the gym, or 1,000 times. Because 2 times 52 times 10, 4 times 52 times 10. That's the difference between 1,000 workouts. That is a big difference. And you can see that it's a big difference when you zoom out and you think of things in 10 years. Versus if you think of things in 7 days, it's only the difference between 2 times. It's not a big deal. That is how we're going to see things play out with Bitcoin. The difference between my money growing 30% annually versus my fiat that gets 2% in the bank account, or maybe 14% in an index fund. It doesn't seem like a huge difference this year, but over 10 years, that is a huge difference. Over 20 years, it's the difference between retiring and going to punch in at work for another 7 to 10 years. It's a big difference. And I could go on and on about why we want to align with the long-term strategy, but I'm just going to keep giving examples. So Fiat loses about 6 to 8% of its purchasing power every year. You can go on Google and look up purchasing power of the US dollar, 100 years, and then go on images and check that out. The value has just decreased. That's what it does. 6 to 7% a year, or 6 to 10% a year. It doesn't seem like a huge deal, but when you zoom out, it does. It really does. And Bitcoin is not losing its purchasing power. It's gaining its purchasing power. You can go on Google and look up Bitcoin US dollar value over the last 16 years. You'll just see it ascending. So an example that I'll use for this is that if I'm in a boat and I'm trying to get across the ocean, and there is a leak in the boat, and it's just 6 to 10% of the boat has a hole in it. It's not like a huge percent of the boat has a hole in it, but it's just a very small amount. It doesn't matter how big the amount is, how big the hole is. Over enough time, it's going to fill up with water and I won't make it across. If there's no hole in the boat, the long-term side, the Bitcoin side, I'm going to make it across. That's the difference. If you have the smallest amount of water coming in your boat, that's a problem. If I have the smallest amount of money that's leaking out of my wallet, it's not a problem today. I can give 6% of my money, that's fine. It's not even a problem this year. 6% of my money this year, all right, that's fine. I'll live. But over 10 years, over 20 years, over 30 years, that's the difference between making it and not making it. That's why I make these videos about Bitcoin, because you don't notice it in the short term, but you absolutely will notice it in the long term. And the systems are designed to slowly bleed you so you don't notice it. It's the frog in the pot that they're slowly heating up the water until it's boiled. It doesn't notice it. It just gets boiled. And then its days are numbered, and it didn't know that what was happening. So there's features of Bitcoin and there's features of Fiat that are fundamentally different, and I think that they represent the two sides of ways to think about time. And historically, if you're thinking about time with a long time horizon, you will be setting yourself up because you're acknowledging that future you exists. When you're thinking of it in short term, future you might exist, it might not, you're not sure, you don't know how many days you have left. So you're going to act on that concept of yourself and that concept of time. I recommend that you think of things in 10 years, not in one day, not in 1 hour, not even in 1 year, in 10 years. And 10 years ago, if you were watching this video of me talking about Bitcoin, if you listened and you bought some Bitcoin 10 years ago in 2015, you've 20x'd your money. Versus if you didn't, you've lost who knows how much purchasing power. That's the difference. And so I recommend that we all think about time and we actually consciously think about it, not just in these financial situations, not just like buying Bitcoin or not buying Bitcoin, but it's just a good idea to think about things in long term. I think people that are thinking hard and people who society believes are smart people, they don't think in days, they don't think in hours, they don't make short-term decisions, they make long-term decisions. And like I said earlier, it's acknowledging yourself, it's respecting yourself and respecting your future self. So like I said, I think that we can kind of see a clear divide between Bitcoin and Fiat. They're not the same, they're very different, and I think the easiest way to think about the differences is this idea about time.